For thousands of years, the Milky Way galaxy believed it was the center of civilization. Hundreds of alien empires ruled thousands of star systems. Massive fleets guarded their borders. Ancient species believed they had already seen everything the universe could offer. Great libraries stored maps of the stars. Explorers traveled through space with confidence. Scientists believed there were no more great surprises waiting in the darkness. But they were wrong. One quiet day, something impossible appeared in deep space. Near the outer rim of the galaxy, a long-range listening station detected a strange signal. The station was old and mostly forgotten. It floated between cold stars where almost nothing ever happened. Inside the station, a young sensor officer named Loran noticed a strange reading on the screen. At first, he thought it was background noise. Deep space was always full of strange signals. Most of them came from dying stars or distant cosmic storms. But this signal was different. It had structure. It had rhythm. It had meaning. Loran adjusted the scanners and looked closer. The signal became clearer. His eyes widened. It was not coming from any known empire. It was not coming from any nearby star. The direction of the signal pointed far beyond the Milky Way, far beyond the last mapped systems, far beyond the dark void between galaxies. The signal was coming from another galaxy, Andromeda. For a moment, Loran simply stared at the screen. The Andromeda galaxy was over 2 million light-years away. Even the fastest ships in the Milky Way would need thousands of years to reach it. No one believed travel between galaxies was possible, yet the signal was clearly coming from there. Loran immediately reported the discovery. Within minutes, the signal was analyzed by scientists across several star systems. Within hours, the entire galaxy knew about it. The message spread across communication networks faster than any news before it. Military command centers received it. Government leaders received it. Scientific academies received it. Even civilian communication channels picked up the transmission. Everyone heard the same signal. Everyone heard the same voice. The message was short, calm, cold, and very clear. This is the citizens of Andromeda. The words echoed through thousands of communication stations across the galaxy. For a moment, no one spoke. Silence filled the galactic networks. Then the rest of the message arrived. You have entered restricted territory. You have one final chance to surrender. Leave immediately, or face annihilation. Shock spread through the Milky Way. Inside government chambers, leaders looked at each other in confusion. Inside military command stations, officers replayed the message again and again. Inside universities, scientists argued loudly across conference rooms. Some believed the message was a trick. Others believed it was a joke from a hidden civilization. Many powerful empires laughed at the warning. How could a civilization from another galaxy threaten us? One commander said, "Our fleets control thousands of star systems," another leader declared. Even so, the message disturbed many people, because the signal contained something very strange. It was not weak. It was not distant. It was getting stronger. Every hour, the signal became clearer. Every hour, the transmission power increased, which meant only one thing. The source of the message was moving closer. Deep space observation stations soon confirmed the fear. Something had appeared beyond the outer stars of the Milky Way. At first, it looked like a faint shadow on the sensors, just a small distortion in empty space. But as the scanners improved, the object became clearer. It was not a planet. It was not a natural object. It was a structure, a massive artificial structure. And it was moving. The object was larger than any warship ever built in the Milky Way. Even the largest Imperial flagships looked small compared to it. The strange vessel moved slowly but steadily toward the galaxy. No warp signal appeared. No hyperspace jump was detected. It simply traveled through space with impossible speed. Behind it, more signals appeared. At first, only a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Astronomers quickly realized something terrifying. The first object was not alone. It was only the front of something much larger. An entire fleet was approaching, and every ship carried the same signal, the same message, the same calm voice repeating across the stars. This is the citizens of Andromeda. You have entered restricted territory. You have one final chance to surrender. Leave immediately, or face annihilation. Across the Milky Way, laughter slowly faded, because the approaching fleet was no longer just a signal. Now, everyone could see it, and it was getting closer every hour. The warning from Andromeda spread across the Milky Way faster than any message in history. Within hours, every major empire had received the transmission. Military stations replayed the message again and again. Scientists studied the signal carefully, trying to understand the technology behind it. But the more they studied it, the more disturbing the truth became. The signal was not using any known communication system. It was not radio. It was not quantum transmission. It was something far more advanced. Even the oldest civilizations in the galaxy could not explain how the message had traveled across millions of light-years with almost no signal loss. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, hundreds of alien leaders gathered for an emergency meeting. The chamber was enormous, floating above a bright white star near the center of the galaxy. For centuries, this council had controlled trade routes, borders, wars, and alliances between the largest civilizations. Now, all attention was focused on one topic: the citizens of Andromeda. A massive hologram floated above the center of the chamber. It showed the outer edge of the Milky Way. Red lights marked the strange objects moving toward the galaxy. At first, there had only been a few. Now there were thousands. Long-range scanners confirmed something terrifying. The objects were ships, enormous ships. Each one was larger than the biggest warship ever built in the Milky Way. Some council members began to panic. Others were angry. "This is clearly a bluff," said one reptilian ambassador from the Tarkarian Dominion. "Our fleets have defeated hundreds of civilizations. No one can threaten the Milky Way." Several leaders nodded in agreement. The Tarkarian Dominion was the largest military power in the galaxy. Their fleets controlled thousands of systems and had crushed every rival empire that had challenged them. If anyone could defeat the mysterious Andromeda fleet, it would be them. But not everyone in the chamber shared that confidence. An older species known as the Valari watched the hologram in silence. The Valari were one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. They had existed for nearly 1,000,000 years and had seen countless empires rise and fall. Their representative finally spoke. The warning should not be ignored. The chamber grew quiet. The Valari rarely spoke during council meetings. When they did, others usually listened. "We have studied the signal carefully," the Valari ambassador continued. "The technology behind it is far beyond anything we understand." Murmurs spread across the chamber, but the Tarkarian commander laughed. "Advanced technology means nothing," he said proudly. "Power wins wars, and our fleets have more power than anyone." The commander stepped forward and activated a new hologram. Millions of ships appeared above the chamber floor. Warships from the Tarkarian Dominion. Their weapons were capable of destroying planets. Their armor could survive the strongest known attacks. "Our fleets will meet these intruders at the galactic border," the commander said confidently. "We will show them what happens when someone threatens the Milky Way." Many empires supported the idea. Fear quickly turned into anger. How dare an unknown civilization from another galaxy issue threats to the Milky Way? The council made its decision. They would send a reply. A short message, a warning of their own. The message was broadcast toward the approaching fleet using the most powerful transmitters in the galaxy. For several minutes, the entire Milky Way waited. Then, the message was sent. "This is the Galactic Council of the Milky Way. You have entered sovereign territory. You will turn back immediately. If you continue forward, your fleet will be destroyed." The message echoed through deep space. Hours passed. No response came. The Andromeda fleet continued moving, slowly, calmly, as if the council's warning meant nothing. Then something strange happened. The signal from Andromeda changed. A new message appeared across every communication network in the galaxy. But this message was different. It was shorter, colder, and far more direct. "This is the citizens of Andromeda. Your response has been received." A pause followed. Then the final line appeared. "The warning remains unchanged. You have one last opportunity to leave restricted territory. Failure to comply will result in immediate corrective action." Across the galaxy, military commanders watched their screens in silence. The Andromeda fleet was now clearly visible on long-range scanners. Thousands of ships, all moving toward the Milky Way. And at the very front of the formation was one enormous vessel. A ship so large that even the Tarkarian command fleet looked small beside it. The galaxy had sent its answer. But the citizens of Andromeda had not turned back. Instead, they were still coming. The Milky Way had sent its warning, but the citizens of Andromeda had not turned back. Instead, their fleet continued moving forward, slowly, calmly, as if nothing in the Milky Way could possibly stop them. Across thousands of star systems, military fleets began to prepare for battle. The Galactic Council ordered every major empire to send ships to the outer rim. The plan was simple. They would stop the Andromeda fleet before it reached the inner regions of the galaxy. It would be the largest military gathering in galactic history. Within days, enormous fleets began arriving near the border system. Warships from the Tarkarian Dominion formed the center of the defense line. Their massive dreadnoughts were surrounded by thousands of cruisers and fighter carriers. Nearby, the fleets of other empires joined them. Silver ships from the Valari, heavy armored vessels from the Gorath war clans, fast interceptor fleets from the Sarian Republic. Millions of ships gathered in the darkness between the stars. From orbiting command stations, officers watched the long-range scanners carefully, and every hour the same report came back. The Andromeda fleet was still approaching. Closer, closer, closer. Finally, the moment arrived. The first Andromeda ship crossed into the outer systems of the Milky Way. At first it appeared on scanners as a single object, then the sensors focused. The image appeared on every command screen across the defense fleets. Silence spread through the command centers. The ship was enormous, not just large, impossible. Its shape was unlike any vessel ever seen before. Long curved structures surrounded a glowing central core. Thousands of small lights moved across its surface like flowing rivers of energy. The vessel looked more like a floating city than a warship. Behind it, more ships appeared, then more, then hundreds. The Andromeda fleet slowly filled the dark space between the stars. For the first time, some commanders began to feel uncertain. The Tarkarian fleet commander stood inside his flagship's command bridge and stared at the massive image of the approaching vessel. He forced himself to remain calm. "Open communication channel," he ordered. A signal beam was transmitted toward the Andromeda ship. After several seconds, a response signal returned. The connection was established instantly. The same calm voice filled the bridge. "This is the citizens of Andromeda." The Tarkarian commander spoke firmly. "You have entered the territory of the Milky Way galaxy. You were warned to turn back. You will stop your advance immediately." The Andromeda voice answered without emotion. The warning was given. Compliance was expected. "You have chosen to ignore the directive." The Tarkarian commander frowned. "You are surrounded by the largest fleet in this galaxy," he said. "You will surrender your vessels and prepare to be boarded." For several seconds, the Andromeda ship did not respond. Then the calm voice returned. "Analysis complete. Hostile intent confirmed." The commander narrowed his eyes. "Last chance," he said. "Power down your ship, or we will destroy it." Across the defense fleet, millions of weapons locked onto the enormous Andromeda vessel. Energy cannons charged, missile launch systems armed, fighter squadrons prepared for attack. Every weapon in the fleet was ready. The Andromeda ship remained completely still. Then the voice spoke again. "You were given a final warning. You have chosen conflict." A soft light appeared along the surface of the enormous vessel. At first it was small, then the light spread across the ship like glowing veins. Energy began to gather near the center of the vessel. Inside the Tarkarian flagship, alarm signals suddenly began flashing across the control panels. Sensor officers shouted in confusion. "Commander, energy readings are rising rapidly." "How powerful?" the commander demanded. The officers stared at the screen in disbelief. I don't understand. Answer me." The officer swallowed nervously. "The energy level is higher than a supernova ignition." The commander froze. "That's impossible." But the sensors were not wrong. The Andromeda ship was now glowing brightly in the darkness of space. Then it fired. A single beam of light crossed the void. The beam touched the front line of the Milky Way fleet. For one brief moment, everything seemed still. Then the ships vanished. Not exploded, not destroyed, gone. Entire warships simply disappeared from space. Across the battlefield, commanders watched in horror as hundreds of vessels vanished instantly. The beam continued moving slowly across the defense line, and everywhere it passed, ships ceased to exist. Within seconds, the front half of the Milky Way fleet had been erased. Silence filled every command channel. No one moved. No one spoke. Then the Andromeda voice returned, calm, cold, and completely certain. "This action was avoidable. You were given one final warning. Further resistance will result in total annihilation." The battlefield fell into complete silence. Only moments earlier, millions of warships had filled the darkness between the stars. Fleets from hundreds of civilizations had stood together, ready to defend the Milky Way. Now half of them were gone. No explosions, no drifting wreckage, no escape pods, just empty space where entire fleets had existed seconds before. Inside the surviving command ships, officers stared at their screens in shock. Some believed their sensors were broken. Others thought the enemy had used some kind of illusion, but the truth slowly became clear. The ships had not been destroyed. They had been erased. The Andromeda weapon had simply removed them from existence. Panic began spreading through the communication networks of the remaining fleets. Report your status. Where is the Dominion fleet? Our front line has disappeared. Commanders shouted orders, trying to regain control of the situation, but confusion had already taken hold. The Tarkarian commander stood frozen on the bridge of his flagship. The glowing beam had stopped just a few thousand kilometers from his position. If the beam had continued for only a few seconds more, his entire command fleet would have vanished. Slowly, he turned toward the sensor officer. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked quietly. The officer's hands trembled as he read the numbers. "Commander, we have lost 800,000 vessels." The bridge fell silent. 800,000 warships, gone in less than 10 seconds. The commander clenched his fists. Across the battlefield, the enormous Andromeda vessel remained perfectly still. Its surface lights dimmed as the weapon powered down. Then the calm voice returned across every communication channel. This demonstration was limited. The purpose was corrective. You have violated restricted expansion boundaries. You have ignored the issued directive. You have initiated hostile engagement. The voice paused. Across the Milky Way, billions of beings listened in fear. Then the message continued. Further resistance will result in complete removal of hostile civilizations. The words echoed through thousands of ships. For the first time in galactic history, the Milky Way fleets had encountered an enemy they could not even challenge. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted. The leaders who had once laughed at the Andromeda warning were now shouting at each other in panic. Military advisors demanded immediate retreat. Scientists begged the Council to open negotiations. Some empires even suggested surrender, but the Tarkarian representative slammed his claws against the Council platform. "We cannot surrender to invaders," he growled. "We will regroup and attack again." Several smaller empires protested immediately. "Did you not see what that weapon did?" one ambassador shouted. "They erased an entire fleet." Another leader spoke with fear in his voice. "That ship alone destroyed more warships in seconds than our worst galactic wars." But the Tarkarian representative refused to accept defeat. "Our fleets are not finished," he said angrily. "We still have millions of ships. We will overwhelm them with numbers." At the edge of the galaxy, the surviving fleet slowly began reorganizing. Many ships had already started retreating toward safer systems. Others stayed behind, unsure what to do next. On the Andromeda vessel, the massive structure remained silent. It did not chase the retreating ships. It did not fire again. Instead, a new transmission spread across the Milky Way. The calm voice spoke once more. "This is the citizens of Andromeda. You have now witnessed a minimal enforcement action. The directive remains unchanged. You will withdraw from restricted expansion zones immediately. You will cease all aggressive fleet mobilization. You will accept monitored peaceful development." The voice paused again. Then the final sentence arrived. "Failure to comply will result in irreversible corrective measures." Across the Milky Way, billions of beings waited for the Council's decision. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy was no longer confident in its power, because somewhere beyond the stars, an entire civilization had just demonstrated that it was stronger than the entire Milky Way combined. And the terrifying truth was becoming impossible to ignore. The citizens of Andromeda had not come to conquer the galaxy. They had come to control it. The Milky Way had never known fear like this. For thousands of years, powerful empires had ruled the stars with confidence. Wars had been fought, planets had been conquered, and entire civilizations had risen and fallen. But never before had the entire galaxy felt powerless. The battle at the Outer Rim had changed everything. The Andromeda vessel had erased nearly 1,000,000 warships in seconds. The greatest military force ever assembled had been broken before it could even fight. Across thousands of star systems, news of the event spread quickly. Citizens watched recordings of the battle in silence. Military leaders replayed the moment again and again, trying to understand what had happened. But the answer was always the same. The technology of Andromeda was far beyond anything the Milky Way possessed. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, the emergency meeting continued. The room that once held proud leaders now felt heavy with tension. Many representatives sat quietly studying the reports from the battle. A large hologram displayed the current position of the Andromeda fleet. The ships had stopped advancing. They were waiting, as if they were giving the galaxy time to decide its fate. The Valari ambassador slowly stood. For centuries, the Valari had been known as patient observers of galactic history. Their civilization had survived many great wars by choosing wisdom over pride. This conflict cannot be won, the ambassador said calmly. His voice echoed across the silent chamber. We are facing a civilization that has crossed the distance between galaxies. That alone proves their technological level is far beyond ours. Several council members nodded quietly, but the Tarkarian representative refused to accept the idea. You are suggesting surrender, he growled. I am suggesting survival, the Valari answered. Murmurs spread through the council. Many leaders now understood the situation clearly. If the Andromeda fleet decided to attack again, the Milky Way would not survive. Yet surrendering to an unknown civilization felt equally terrifying. At that moment, a new transmission arrived. The signal came directly from the Andromeda flagship. It was broadcast across every communication channel in the Milky Way. The same calm voice returned. This is the citizens of Andromeda. All major governing authorities of the Milky Way are advised to listen. Inside the council chamber, every representative became silent. The voice continued. Your civilizations have demonstrated aggressive expansion patterns. Historical analysis indicates a high probability of future galactic instability. We do not permit uncontrolled expansion beyond defined boundaries. The hologram in the council chamber suddenly changed. New star maps appeared. Large sections of the galaxy were highlighted in red. These regions have been classified as restricted zones, the voice explained. These areas contain dormant threats from ancient cosmic events. If destabilized, they may lead to catastrophic outcomes for both galaxies. Many scientists inside the chamber leaned forward in shock. The Andromeda civilization had knowledge of parts of the galaxy that even the oldest Milky Way species had never explored. The voice continued calmly. Our civilization faced a similar crisis millions of years ago. Our galaxy nearly collapsed due to uncontrolled technological expansion. We survived by creating strict development boundaries. The message paused briefly. Then the next words carried a surprising tone. This warning was issued to prevent your extinction. Across the council chamber, leaders exchanged confused looks. Prevent their extinction? The voice continued. If the Milky Way civilizations agree to peaceful development regulations, no further enforcement will occur. If you refuse, the voice paused. No one in the galaxy needed to hear the rest. Everyone already understood the consequences. The Valari ambassador slowly turned toward the other council members. You have heard them, he said quietly. This is not conquest. This is regulation. A long silence followed. For the first time in history, the Milky Way galaxy faced a decision that would shape its future forever. Resist the citizens of Andromeda and risk destruction, or accept their rules and survive. But while the council debated, there was one civilization that had already started studying the Andromeda technology carefully. A younger species, a species that had been watching quietly since the first message arrived, humanity. While the Galactic Council argued about surrender and survival, another civilization had been watching the entire situation very carefully, humanity. Compared to many ancient empires in the Milky Way, humans were still considered a young species. They had only joined the galactic community a few centuries earlier. Many older civilizations believed humans were reckless and emotional. They believed humans acted too quickly and asked too many questions. But humans had something that many older species had slowly lost over time: curiosity. From the moment the Andromeda signal first appeared, human scientists had begun studying it. They did not laugh at the warning. They did not immediately prepare for war. Instead, they tried to understand it. Deep inside the Human Interstellar Research Network, thousands of scientists were analyzing every piece of information they could collect. They studied the signal structure. They examined the strange energy patterns of the Andromeda ships. They replayed the battle recordings again and again. The results were surprising. The Andromeda fleet had incredible power, but their actions were extremely controlled. They had not attacked the entire Milky Way fleet. They had only erased the ships that had fired first. Even the massive beam weapon had stopped once the attacking fleets were disabled. Human analysts began to notice something else. The Andromeda fleet was not behaving like a conquering force. They were behaving like guardians. Inside the United Earth Strategic Command, a meeting was held between military leaders, scientists, and diplomats. A large holographic display showed the current position of the Andromeda fleet at the outer rim of the galaxy. The fleet had not moved for several hours. They were still waiting. General Marcus Hale studied the map carefully. If they wanted to destroy us, he said quietly, they would have already done it. Several officers nodded. The Andromeda civilization clearly possessed technology far beyond anything the Milky Way had ever seen. If they wanted war, the galaxy would already be gone. Dr. Elena Varga, one of Earth's leading astrophysicists, spoke next. We believe the Andromeda message was not a threat, she explained. It was a test. The room became quiet. A test? The general asked. Yes, she replied. They warned us first. They gave the galaxy a chance to withdraw, but the fleets attacked anyway. Another scientist activated a recording of the battle. The moment the Milky Way fleets opened fire was clearly visible. Only after that did the Andromeda ship activate its weapon. They responded only after we attacked, Dr. Varga continued. That means they were following rules. The general folded his arms. And what happens if we stop fighting? Dr. Varga looked at the screen showing the Andromeda fleet. Then I believe nothing happens. The idea slowly spread through the room. Maybe the galaxy had misunderstood the situation. Maybe the citizens of Andromeda were not invaders. Maybe they were something else entirely. Guardians, observers, regulators. General Hale finally made his decision. Prepare a message, he ordered. The room looked at him in surprise. You're going to contact them? One officer asked. Yes, Hale replied. If the rest of the galaxy wants to argue and fight, they can. But humanity is going to try something different. A communication signal was prepared using the strongest human transmitters. Across space, the message traveled toward the Andromeda flagship. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the signal returned. The connection opened instantly. The calm Andromeda voice appeared once again. This is the citizens of Andromeda. General Hale spoke clearly. This is the United Earth Directorate representing humanity. A short pause followed. Your communication is acknowledged, the voice replied. Hale continued. We have analyzed your warning and your actions. We believe your intention is not conquest. We believe your intention is stability. Another brief pause followed. Across the Milky Way, some listening stations had already detected the human transmission. Millions of beings quietly listened to the conversation. Finally, the Andromeda voice spoke again. Your analysis is accurate. Inside the human command center, several scientists exchanged surprised looks. General Hale continued. Humanity is willing to cooperate. We are willing to follow the development boundaries you described. The silence that followed felt endless. Then the Andromeda voice returned. For the first time, its tone seemed slightly different. Less cold, almost approving. Humanity has demonstrated rational evaluation. Your response differs from other Milky Way civilizations. Another pause followed. Then the Andromeda message continued. Further communication with human authorities is authorized. Across the galaxy, the news spread rapidly. While the rest of the Milky Way argued about surrender and war, humanity had just become the first civilization to open peaceful contact with the citizens of Andromeda. And for the first time since the warning arrived, the future of the galaxy might no longer depend on war.